So
Sorry.
I heard it. Oh, how can I click this? Continue. Okay, yeah. Good morning, everyone. My presentation title is Translation Quality Assessment, a brief survey on manual and automatic methods. I'm based in Dublin City University from Adapted Research Center, and my supervisors are Guy Stone and Alan Smitten from Research Center of Adapt and Insight Center, respectively. This presentation, I want to recall some of the message and or comments from our keynote speaker that he mentioned about this automatic metrics and the crowdsourced worker evaluations. And the evaluation metrics actually outperform human crowdsourced evaluations. And this multi-dimensional quality metrics framework, you will see all of these words in my presentation. And also I will extend some more. Sorry. How can I go next slide? Okay, yeah. So first I will introduce the motivation of these words. Then I discuss some earlier surveys, and then it's all classification of translation quality assessment methods. And then we give discussion and perspectives that hopefully it will be helpful to our listeners. So the driven factors of this work is, firstly, translation quality assessment has always been a key point in translation assessment and machine translation model development. Human evaluations are always regarded as the golden criteria for assessment. On the other hand, automatic metrics for machine translation system can be used as tuning and parameter optimization to boost the translation model. Also, as our keynote speaker mentioned, the new translation quality assessment method is needed to distinguish the high-performance machine translation system nowadays, since the traditional metrics cannot distinguish them correctly. There are some related surveys in earlier years. They fall into some categories such as they didn't cover recent year development, or they are specialized, focus on certain domains, or they are very brief. So our work tried to complement this and extend to recent development of this field, and hopefully it will be helpful to researchers. And this survey was built on our preprint 2016. The aim of our work is that we want to offer a concise but structured classification of translation quality assessment and a brief overview, and extended the literature of recent published work. Also, we added quality estimation, another category of evaluating translation quality when the translation reference is not needed. And we also offer some content about meta evaluation, such as how to evaluate the evaluation method itself, or how to assess the assessment method itself. It is also an important question. And we offer easy to grasp content for researchers to choose their own metric conveniently or make their own metric inspired by this work. We also expect this survey to be helpful to other NLP task assessors, since in NLP task, we always share a lot of similarities, such as how to evaluate the generated content and the language understanding tasks. So the translation quality assessment measures studied the manual measures studied very earlier, and the automatic measures studied when the machine translation getting popular and making sense. Generally, is from the statistical machine translation era. And here I draw a picture when statistical machine translation was still dominant in this machine translation field. From this picture, you can see from the text center in the top to the bottom candidate empty output, we can have quality estimation, that is reference list evaluation. And then in the bottom reference translation and the candidate translation, we have these traditional machine translation evaluation metrics. Here is an example for Chinese to English translation, and there's several, at least three possible translation quality assessment methods categories, such as source, reference, output. We can have this human evaluation, source and output. I can have, we have this human evaluation and quality estimation. And with reference and candidate translation, we have human evaluation or evaluation matrix. So related work I will briefly mention. So Alina in 2005, excuse me, presented a survey on translation assessments that focus on error categorization. And we suggest you read this paper if you're from translation background, translator background, and it offers some helpful comments and suggestions. Serial 2006 also have this automatic evaluation machine translation quality paper. It is very brief, 5 pages, but also covers some popular metrics, including BLUE, NIST, and meter. There are two big projects. One is Eurometrics in 2007. It was coordinated by Professor Hans Juskrit. They have a survey of evaluation up to 2007. And another project from America, this NIST Garley program report also covers some machine translation knowledge, evaluation knowledges up to 2009. And then there's some invited talk in 2013 in EAMD about their own evaluation toolkit they introduced from UPC, and it's a great work. So we classify translation quality estimation paradigm into these three components that cannot miss any of them. Firstly, it's manual methods, and then the automatic methods. They help each other sometimes actually, and then this evaluating this assessment method itself. In this manual methods, it started since translation was developed, and it sorry, I was a bit nervous. The traditional criteria of this manual method start with from 1960s, and then we classify the later as advanced metrics because it was developed in the later era. And in automatic methods, we classify them as metrics task and a quality estimation task. Since metric task was traditional from 2005 or 2006, when Philip Kohn was launched this WMT workshop, and the quality estimation task was introduced later in 2012 as advanced quality estimation research without using reference translation. And the evaluating of translation quality assessment methods, we will demonstrate statistical significance, agreement methods, and correlation methods in our paper. So in this talk, I briefly introduce the high structure of our paper, and for detailed technologies and methods, I suggest readers to read our paper for any part that they have interest or may have their own research. So in this human assessment methods, in the traditional method, there are intelligibility, fidelity, fluency, adequacy, as also mentioned by our keynote speakers, and comprehension, and some further development. And the later year developed, including some task-oriented methodology for assessment, and some extended criteria, or utilize post-editings and segment ranking of by humans to judge WMT data. As cross-sort intelligence was introduced in WMT as well, such as direct assessment methods by research from Adapt Center, Yvette Graham. And also from Adapt Center, we have this revisiting traditional criteria papers for Maya. I will briefly mention some of the definitions, such as the translation intelligible is usually defined as far as possible. The translation should be like normal, well-edited prose, and be readily understandable in the same way that such a sentence would be understandable if original composed in a translation language. Fidelity and adequacy, the translation should be as little as possible twist, distort, or controvert the meaning of intended by the original. And then there are some comprehension, fluency, adequacy criteria. Such a fluency is usually to measure whether a sentence is well formed and fluent in the text grammatically, and adequacy reflects the loyalty to the source text. So fluency and adequacy are usually together when we use this human evaluation. There are task-oriented, extended criteria, post-editing, segment ranking, causal intelligence methods, and some researchers go back to visited criteria, and I will not introduce in detail because of time limitation. So in the automatic quality assessment methods, in our paper, we classify them in traditional one, including n-gram surface matching. In this n-gram surface matching, usually we just care about the word level, such as word order, added distance, precision recall. And then there's another parallel category we classify, and we call it as deeper linguistic features, such as some researchers try to integrate the syntax, the semantic feature into the evaluation methodology. Syntax feature including part of speech, phrase structure, or sentence structure, and semantic feature including named entity, multi-word expression, synonyms, textual entailment, paraphrase, semantic role labeling, and language model. Also recent years, because deeper learning come to natural language processing and neural machine translation models popular, the deep learning model also applied to evaluation criteria, such as traditional evaluation metrics based on some feature engineering. I mentioned here also, so in deep learning models, recent years use LSTM, recent recurrent neural networks to include the syntax and semantic features for the training. We also briefly mentioned our own work during this long procedure, such as our LAPR metric was published in Colin 2012, many years ago. And it was submitted to WMT13, and it was the best correlation score with system level human judgment from other language to English in average. And we have a news this year that this Python version was ported by Logos Global Company of our own metric. We sent to this company, and especially Irina, Gleb, and Search. And for quality estimation, I briefly mentioned, it is a reference, not a reference list, such as it means we don't need a reference during this estimate of translation quality. And this is actually more realistic or practical in real life when many reference, when in many situations, reference translation not available, and how we evaluate whether or assess whether this translation system or this translation result is good or not. And we also have our own work about quality estimation. We use Navier and support vector machine and conditional random field for the feature learning. So about evaluating quality, translating quality estimation, in our paper, we have statistical significance to see whether one metric, say this translation is good or bad, whether it's really good or bad. We need some statistical significance testing actually to tell us in the real answer. And human judgment agreement kappa level is always used in WMT and also other researchers to see whether humans agree with each other, such as to avoid these low agreement situations. And the correlation method is used usually to correlate automatic metric with human judgment, since we always use regard human judgment as a golden reference. Also, there are matrix comparison work to manipulate different metrics together and compare them. So I use 2 minutes extra, sorry. Then this question. In the discussion, I will say this multidimensional quality metric is getting more attention these years, such as applied to WMT 2020, but it has many criteria. It needs to be adapted to specific tasks of evaluations. Also the weighting, how to calculate that or arrange that. And quality estimation needs more attention because such as for many real scenario, including natural disaster, rescue, or some low resource scenario, we need this reference list estimation of to assess the translation quality. And the human assessments also have problems such as our keynote speaker mentioned that the cross-source human judgment actually is not that reliable. According to the professional translators' results, they have a lower agreement than the traditional metrics, automatic metrics. That is not that good. So we have to think about what to do with this point. And also how to improve the test site diversity and the domains and the reference translation coverage is diversity, such as we can offer different reference test site that cover the same sentence, cover the semantic equivalence. These are future issues and current problems. The metric is still facing the challenge of segment level performance, such as correlate with professional human judgment. And the metric score interpretation is also a problem, such as what does the mean of minus 16094 in the metric? Or in blue score, usually 33 or 30 plus, usually it's a very good translation. What does 33 mean or what does 30 plus mean? However, I do one small advertisement or metric LIPER series for relatively good translation. We score 0.60 to 0.80, and the overall score is 0 to 1. Yeah, in conclusion, we have a brief view of human and automatic assessment methods and the MET assessments, how to assess the assessment method itself. And we introduced automatic models cover both reference-based translation and reference-list metrics. And MT is still far from reaching human parity, especially in broader domains, topics, language pairs. So translation quality assessment will still play a very important role in this machine translation development. And the machine translation quality assessment will surely have an influence in other NLP tasks and a big impact by others. Thanks for your listening. And in the end of the question, I will show you this small